Two Bigfoot right up there. Do you see them? There they are. We gotta get closer. We gotta get out of here. We're too close. We gotta get out of here.
What's he doing?
What you are about to watch was never supposed to exist. Bigfoots are known to stay deep in the woods, far away from human eyes. But this time, they could not just slip away like they usually do. They were caught, seen by human eyes, and recorded on camera. Join us as we uncover 15 crystal clear Bigfoot sightings that should not exist on camera. In 2011, a hiker went deep into the woods in Noble County, Ohio, and stumbled into something far worse than he expected. This footage was uploaded to the YouTube channel Sasquatch Mafia.
Right up ahead of us here. I just saw two figures walking. And I'm hearing... We're gonna get up there as close as we can.
The camera is already shaking before anything happens. It shows a snowy forest floor, thick branches and thorn trees pressing in from every side. The witness is breathing hard and ragged. He says he can see two of them up ahead. We cannot see anything yet, but he can.
Holy crap. Chris. There they go. I missed it. There they are. Chris. There's two Bigfoot right up there. Do you see them? Holy crap. There they are. We gotta get closer. Wait a second.
The witness keeps moving forward even though everything in his body is clearly telling him not to. The camera zooms in shakily, trying to show us what he sees. He moves closer, trying to get the shot. Then he stops.
There they are.
Right there behind those trees, something massive and dark shifts through the trunks, moving deliberately, unhurried.
We had to get out of here. We're too close.
Then comes the sound, loud creaking. The dark figure is pushing a tree with its hands, repeatedly exerting enough force to make the tree creak. You can hear the persistent creak of wood and see it dance left and right because of the push. The witness films without moving in close, then leaves as he feels he's about to be caught. In this next case, we follow the YouTube channel Sony Veta into the woods. The footage opens in a sunlit woodland with dry branches and large dark trees, natural light filtering through the canopy. The camera focuses on the tree line, and behind the thin branches is a large black upright figure in fur. It moves left, observing its surroundings, then goes still. It moves again, subtle and slow. Then stops. It is aware that something is out there, but has not located it yet. Bit by bit, it eases back deeper between the trees. Its muscular upper body fills the space between the branches as it relies on its dark coloration to hold itself in the shadows. staying perfectly still, trusting the dark to hide it. It shifts again, eyes scanning the tree line, trying to find whatever it senses is watching. Then it settles back into position and goes completely still, invisible again, patiently waiting and watching the strange camera. While most Bigfoot sightings feature dark fur, what emerged from the Oklahoma woods was so different that it made the local news. A TikTok user originally captured this video before it was posted on YouTube channel 4029 News. The witness moves quietly through a bright sunlit forest when the camera locks onto something near the base of the tree. It is large, sitting completely still and covered in orange fur. The orange figure is seated in a relaxed, almost human posture, leaning back against the trunk as if it had stopped to rest. In its hand is a leaf held close to its face, as though it's sniffing it. Then, without warning, the orange-furred Bigfoot turns, making direct eye contact with the human as it moves slowly, as if it's about to stand. The witness gasps and runs fast. Of all the things one would expect to find in Oklahoma woods, an orange Bigfoot holding a leaf in its hand is the least. This next clip is one of the most unexpected Bigfoot moments ever recorded. It was uploaded to the YouTube channel North by Wild West, and it did not happen deep in a remote wilderness. It happened on Christmas morning in Minnesota.
Hey everyone.
Merry Christmas!
Got a tree.
What was that?
Oh my god. Did you see that?
Something's behind the garage.
Did you see that?
No, what was it?
It was really big. Oh my god, you see it?
Yeah.
A family gathers in their living room, wishing each other a Merry Christmas on camera. The camera swings to the Christmas tree, then to the window. That is when one of them sees something outside. She heads out immediately, followed by others and her dog. Outside, snow covers everything.
No way.
That can't be.
What the?
The camera moves toward the dark tree line just ahead, and there it is. A large, dark figure moved through the snow-dusted evergreens, jet black against all that white, bipedal, tall, moving fast before disappearing into the woods and leaving the family completely speechless. They can't explain what they've seen.
Oh.
Oh, you're going to
Oh no.
after him. We're real scared of them.
The dog sprints to the edge of the yard and erupts into a full barking frenzy aimed directly at the tree line.
I don't know.
The family moves closer, trying to catch another glimpse. The dog does not stop barking. They wait, watching in shock. Then they see another massive dark-furred figure moving through the woods again. This one appears to be different from the first. Fear sets in, and the camera shakes as they turn and head back inside the house.
Oh my god.
Not one, but two Bigfoot were seen on a Christmas morning in a suburban Minnesota backyard. Who knows where they were headed or coming from? What do you do when you realize something in the dark has been watching you? This video was uploaded to the YouTube channel Bigfoot's Testimony. A group of men moves through dense, tangled woodland after dark, having heard movements in the trees. Their flashlight cuts through gnarled branches and thick trunks, creating a maze of shadow that closes in from every direction. They breathe heavily, whispering to each other, already on high alert as they hear movements in the woods. They scan the darkness. Nothing. Then the light moves and catches it. A massive dark figure pressed behind a trunk, completely still, its fur so dark it absorbs the flashlight. The camera zooms in toward the dark void between the trees and finds two wide eyes glowing back at them. The Bigfoot blinks once, slowly, directly at the camera, and then it runs into the woods. The men breathe heavily, asking each other what that was. The flashlight chases it through the trees, but it is already gone. It had been standing there watching them the entire time. Most footage gives you a shadow, a blur, or something distant enough to explain away. The next footage is different. It is crystal clear. It was recorded by Todd Standing, who went deep into the Canadian Rockies and came back with something nobody expected: a face. The video opens with dense green pine needles filling the frame, a dark shape barely visible at the back. Then it moves slightly. Todd holds the camera closer. Now it is clearly seen. A large, comical head, heavy brow ridge, brown fur, and large dark pupils staring directly into the lens. It is not hiding. It is observing and watching Todd, with the calm patience of something that has no reason to feel threatened. Its round head is seen clearly. Then it blinks, slow and deliberate. It raises its head slightly to look directly into the camera, but there is no panic in the movement, no urgency, just stillness and awareness. It knew Todd was there. It simply did not care. Urban Angler, the owner of the YouTube channel Urban Angler 68, posted this next encounter. He was out on the water, camera rolling, enjoying a quiet day on the river, when something moving in the water stopped him completely. The video opens on a calm river, dense green forest pressing in on both sides. Then, right there, in the middle of the river, is a massive, dark, reddish-brown figure, standing fully upright and walking through the water with complete ease. The camera zooms in as the figure moves toward the riverbank. The way its arms are held close to its chest tells a story. It is carrying something. A small infant, the same reddish-brown color, pressed tight against its chest. It has seen the human. It is taking its baby back to safety. The figure reaches the bank and disappears into the trees without looking back. Up next is a clip uploaded to the YouTube channel Shady Johnson 8700. A group of hikers near British Columbia stood on a rocky ridge with an enormous open slope stretching out before them when one of them zoomed in on something moving across the gray scree in the distance.
Not just a dude. Dude, no.
Yeah, it is.
You think so? It has to be. It just looks like such a big thing for such a, like...
He's hauling it down that mountain.
This is not...
The figure is dark and moving at an unrealistic speed for the terrain. No human moves like that across loose rock and snow at that altitude.
What are we looking looking at? Seriously. Are we all seeing the same thing, right? Yeah! Yo!
Zoomed in, it shows into a distinct dark bipedal silhouette crossing the slope with long fluid strides and consistent arm swings, covering ground effortlessly.
It stopped.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a person, guys. Look at...
Then it stops. One of the hikers calls out toward it. The figure appears to look in their direction, then continues moving at the same speed, crossing terrain that experienced mountaineers treat with serious caution as though it were flat ground.
Like, for scale.
Did we actually just see a Sasquatch? Look at it still! It's just going down the ridgeline, man.
The camera pulls back to show the full scale of the environment. Massive, remote, snowy peaks stretch in every direction. There's no way any human would be moving through those mountains with such speed. Only one explanation fits. It's a Bigfoot. In this first video, we follow Josh Highcliffe, the creator of the YouTube channel Josh Highcliffe, into the Mississippi swamp. Josh was not hunting for Bigfoot when he went in. All around him are thick walls of cypress trees, swamp grass, and stagnant water. Everywhere seems calm. Then, as the camera stabilizes, he sees something moving.
We'll play the video and take a closer look afterwards at a few different spots.
Behind the trees, a dark, massive figure crouches at the base of a rotting cypress stump, jet black fur soaked and matted from the swamp water. Its shoulders are so wide they dwarf the logs around it. It is engrossed in the stump, using its bare hands to tear the wood apart, ripping chunks away, digging for grubs as if it has done this 1,000 times, completely unbothered and completely unaware it is being captured. Then, it begins to rise slowly. Its huge shape comes into full view, with an enormous head and no visible neck, rising against the green background. Josh's breathing changes on seeing its full size. It is massive. Josh does not wait. He turns and runs, the camera shaking violently in his hand as he crashes through the swamp. He never returns. The next video was uploaded to the Paranormal Review YouTube channel. On December 29, 2012, deep in the snow and frozen silence of American Fork Canyon, Utah, Beard Calf camera caught something moving in the thicket. The footage opens with a wide, sweeping view of the snow-covered canyon. Heavy snowpack covers the ground, and white-capped mountain peaks stretch across the background under a pale winter sky. The camera pans slowly across a dense cluster of birch and pine trees. Then, he sees something moving and tries to zoom in. There, in the trees, is a massive dark figure, obscured by the thin vertical lines of the trunks, moving deep into the wood with surprising ease and speed. The camera shakes violently as Beardcard chases after it. You hear the crunch of boots breaking through the icy crust underfoot. By the time the camera stabilizes, the figure is already gone, vanished, almost like it was never there at all. In this next video, we follow a group of teenagers into the mountains. This footage was uploaded to the YouTube channel Flamingo 1. In 2011, a group of teenagers headed to the Smoky Mountains in search of a good time. The camera opens on a snowy, fog-covered ridge. The group is well dressed for the cold, some of them already holding their phones up, trying to capture what is moving in the trees above them. A few of them move closer to get a better look. Then they find it. The camera zooms in.
What's he doing?
High above them in the thicket of pine trees is a massive dark figure, matted fur pressed against a trunk, watching them from above without panicking or moving, and just watching, completely still, letting the teenagers look while it decides what to do next. This footage was uploaded to the YouTube channel Long Island Bigfoot, a channel dedicated to tracking and documenting Bigfoot activity across the Northeast. The footage opens in the woods, thick, dry pine needle trees all around. Nothing seems unusual at first. Then, the camera zooms in and catches a glimpse of a massive dark figure moving between the trees. It is standing upright, appearing to feed on something in the branches above. No visible neck. Broad through the shoulders, standing right there in the woods, completely at ease, thinking it is alone. It has no idea it has just been caught on camera. This clip was uploaded to the YouTube page BilboSwaggins9490. The video opens in a quiet, sunny forest, with dried leaves and fallen logs scattered across the ground, and pine trees standing tall on all sides. Everything looks completely peaceful.
What the is that? Oh my God.
Then the camera catches movement and swings toward it. Behind the trees is a small bipedal figure moving fast through the woods, with dark, thick fur and a rounded head, ducking behind the trunks and using them as cover. It moves with the practiced instinct of something that has been hiding its whole life.
What is that? Oh my God.
And before the camera can lock onto it properly, it is already gone, blended back into the forest as if it never was. It knew exactly what it was doing. Not much drama happened in this next video uploaded to the YouTube channel JTP Freak, but what the camera caught in broad daylight was impossible to ignore. The video opens with tall, light green trees filling both sides of the frame, bright daylight cutting through the canopy. The camera holds steady, watching and waiting. Then a massive dark fur figure steps out from between the trees with a heavy bipedal stride, no visible neck, long arms swinging naturally at its sides. It is almost unnoticeable in the background as its color blends with the trees. It moves without any awareness that it is being filmed. Slowly, it disappears back into the tree line. Closing the list is a video uploaded by YouTube channel Sasquatch Mafia. In January 2020, in the cold remote Kettle River Range of Washington State, a trail camera had been bolted to a tree for weeks, trying to capture whatever was moving through the area. The camera focuses on a large snowy clearing with dense trees in the background. Then it triggers. A large bipedal figure with no visible neck and broad shoulders emerges from the tree line and walks straight ahead across the clearing. No hurrying, no checking its surroundings, just moving through that frozen Washington forest with the unhurried confidence of something the cold and the terrain have never once slowed down. Then it turns its head. A single glance directly toward the camera. Then it walks on into the Washington timber without breaking stride. And there we have it. The Cabin in the Woods channel delves into the most remote and haunting locations, uncovering stories that linger long after the cameras stop rolling. In August 2013, a couple vacationing on Vancouver Island took a secluded back road leading toward the tiny village of Port Renfrew. Surrounded on both sides by thick forest and with barely a sign of civilization, the narrow road seemed to disappear into the wilderness. During their drive, they paused by a quiet roadside creek, a seemingly ordinary moment that would soon unfold into an encounter far from ordinary, a tale the channel would later bring vividly to light.
So as I said, in August 2013, this couple was on vacation on Vancouver Island. They were driving this rather obscure back road toward a tiny hamlet called Port Renfrew. During our trip, my wife and daughter and I drove this same road, and we also visited Port Renfrew. And I can tell you that this particular road is small and narrow and lined with dense forest on either side. And really, not much else. Zero signs of civilization.
The couple, no strangers to wandering deep into the wilderness, decided to follow a nearly dry creek bed, hoping it would guide them safely through the dense forest. Barely a couple hundred feet in, the sudden sound of snapping branches ahead made them pause. Through the shadows, a towering figure appeared, upright, swaying slightly, with a cone-shaped head and broad, imposing shoulders. It was a presence unlike anything they had encountered, leaving them frozen between awe and fear as they tried to comprehend what they were seeing.
They had walked only about 200 feet into the tree line along this creek bed when they suddenly heard branches breaking up ahead. They looked 75 to 100 feet further into the forest in the direction they were going, and that's when they saw this large, upright figure. The figure was standing bipedally, they said, and swaying back and forth. The couple said it looked like it had a cone-shaped head and broad, bulky shoulders.
The couple insisted that what they were seeing couldn't be a bear. Wendy, walking slightly ahead, suddenly stopped and gestured back to her partner, drawing his gaze toward a shape 75 to 100 feet away. At first glance, they thought it might be an animal, but its stance was unmistakably upright, moving on two legs. Even from that distance, its head had an unusual, almost conical shape, an appearance that left the couple uneasy, realizing they were witnessing something entirely out of the ordinary.
They stressed that in their opinion, this was not a bear.
Wendy was ahead of me, and she turns around and she points, and I looked up into the distance. Way in the distance, it was about 75 to 100 feet ahead of us. You could see something in the distance. At first we thought it was a bear, but it seemed more bipedal. So it seemed more upright. It appeared to have kind of a conish.
The couple could just make out the shape of its head, tapered and sloping, with a broad, almost flat forehead that suggested a surprising intelligence. Its back looked thick and powerful, and one massive shoulder jutted into view, the arm disappearing into the shadows of the forest. Every feature hinted at something extraordinary, a creature far beyond anything they had ever expected to encounter.
Examine and scrub back and forth through these areas, you can see that sloping, cone-shaped head and the rather flat, somewhat horizontal forehead, very reminiscent of gorilla cranium shapes. We've also got what looks like a thickly muscled back and what really strongly appears to be a shoulder with the upper portion of what would be the creature's right arm hanging down out of view.
The creature's face bore a striking resemblance to Patty from the Patterson-Gimlin film. Todd Gatewood's restoration, made solely from the original footage, revealed uncanny similarities in facial features, posture, and the way it seemed to glance back. The image carried a chilling sense, as if the forest had quietly replayed a moment from decades ago.
But that face strongly resembles the face of Paddy, the subject of the famous Patterson-Gimlin film, particularly in this enhanced frame done by photo archivist Todd Gatewood. This is an undoctored frame, simply enhanced using the original visual information captured on Roger Patterson's camera. No AI was used in this restoration by Todd Gatewood. And look at the similarities, not just in facial features, but in overall shape, in impression, and in the fact that both Paddy and the subject of this 2013 footage from Port Renfrew appear to be turning their full bodies.
There was a faint, musty odor in the air, subtle, but noticeable. At first, it might have been mistaken for a bear, but its size and shape quickly suggested otherwise. Even from a distance, it appeared massive, with broad shoulders that hinted at a strength far beyond any ordinary animal.
There was actually kind of a musty smell, wasn't there? It wasn't strong. I would say it was kind of subtle. I don't know if bears stink. I mean, somebody says, oh, it was a black bear. I don't think it was a black bear. I've seen black bears before.
No, it wasn't black.
It didn't. It seemed quite big. And she's looking through the camera and zooming in on this thing. I'm seeing it from a distance. But it appeared to be quite big, and it seemed to have shoulders on it. That's what it looked like to me.
The identity of the figure remained a complete mystery. Reactions to the footage were split. Some dismissed it outright, while others were captivated. The discussion it sparked only deepened the intrigue, leaving viewers debating what had truly been captured. Although they emerged from the forest unharmed, the question of what they saw remains unanswered. Was it merely an unusual animal, or something far more extraordinary watching from the shadows? Salish Sasquatch presents verified sightings and first-hand encounters of Sasquatch across the Pacific Northwest. In this video, we present a carefully curated list of our most notable guests and memorable encounters, highlighting stories that have resonated most with our audience. We begin with Dean Parker of the Macau tribe in Nebe, Washington, whose insights provide a unique perspective on the region's long-standing Sasquatch traditions.
Welcome to Salish Sasquatch, where we share evidence as well as encounters. I've been wanting to put together this video for a while now. This video is a compilation of our very favorite guests, our favorite encounters, channel favorites, and all of that wrapped into one video. So these are in no particular order, but we will start with Dean Parker of the Macau tribe in Nebe, Washington.
Dean Parker, known as Papado of Nebe, recalls a night that still chills him to this day. Driving back to Skokomish through the dark, empty stretch of Humpt, something appeared on the road. A figure emerged from the shadows, moving with an eerie, unnatural grace. It took 3 deliberate steps across the road and then vanished, swallowed by the darkness, leaving only a haunting silence behind.
All right, my name is Dean Parker. I'm from Nebe, and a lot of people call me Papado. And I'm going to tell you about my encounter with the Sasquatches. My first one was driving back to Skokomish, and we was going through tulips there, and it was during the nighttime, and I come up on the road, and I told Lametta, I says, "See that?" "Yes." "You know what that is?" "Yes, it's a Sasquatch," and it took about 3 steps across the road, and it was...
What began as an ordinary moment quickly turned unsettling. From somewhere in the distance, a sharp whistling sound broke the silence. It didn't fade. It repeated, growing closer each time, deliberate, almost directed. With the wind pressing against his face, the realization set in that whatever was out there was no longer far away. The air felt wrong, and instinct warned that the situation was about to take a dangerous turn.
Then I heard this whistling noise out there in the distance. This is not going to be good. And I kept on hearing whistle, getting a little bit closer, whistling at me, and I knew they were really getting... I was walking.
That moment became one of his most unforgettable experiences. an encounter with not one, but two Sasquatches, leaving a lasting impression that would stay with him long after the night ended.
Oh, that was my experience with the...
Long before he knew the legends of Sasquatch, Johnny grew up in Missouri, a childhood untouched by television and the tales it might have told. When his family moved to Washington State, the dense forests and rugged wilderness became the backdrop for a childhood adventure unlike any other. On one of his first backpacking trips, a dozen kids and a single adult, the stage was unknowingly set for encounters that would change everything he thought he knew about the world around him.
I grew up in Missouri, and I didn't have TV. We didn't have TV when I was a kid, so I didn't know anything about Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And my family moved to Washington State, and one of the first trips I did as a kid was I went on a backpacking trip with, I think there were 12 of us kids and one adult. And
while trekking through the rugged trails of Mount Three Fingers in the Boulder River wilderness, an eerie sound shattered the quiet. Something slammed against a tree with a force that no human could match, rattling the forest with rapid, thunderous blows. Even those who had grown up among these woods felt a shiver run down their spines. The group froze, hearts pounding, as the hair on their arms and the back of their necks prickled with an instinctive, chilling fear.
We were hiking on Mount Three Fingers in the Boulder River wilderness, and something in the woods pounded on a tree right next to us, and it was inhumanly loud sound. No person could have done it, and I think it knocked the number of people in our group on the tree. It was boom, 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 real fast, real loud. And I grew up, playing in the woods, and I never heard anything like that. And, everybody there, we just froze.
Further up the road, two campers emerged, their headlights cutting through the darkness as they made their way down the hill. But something, or someone, was following them. A tall, unnervingly slender figure appeared on the road, moving with an almost unnatural grace. When he pointed it out to his friend, they brushed it off, assuming it was just the campers. But his eyes stayed locked on the figure as it came fully into view, impossible to ignore, and the forest seemed to hold its breath.
So they were coming, the two people that had camped further up the road, they came walking down the hill, they had their headlights on, and they were about over here on my left when I saw a tall figure following them on the road. It was very slender, but very tall. And I remember saying, "Hey, I see something up there." And my buddy who was over there, he said, "Oh yeah, that's the, so-and-so, that's those people that are friends." And I was like, "No, they're over here." And everyone just kind of ignored me. But I watched this figure walk into view.
Sonia approached the encounter with logic, carefully testing every explanation. A bear didn't make sense, as none of the usual warning signs were present, and it didn't feel like a deer, another animal, or even a person in the woods. One final possibility crossed her mind, one she resisted at first: Sasquatch. That unsettling realization, paired with the location and behavior she witnessed, drew her into a mystery she could no longer ignore.
Through and find a provisional hypothesis for what it is you're experiencing. And so I'm like, okay, well, if it was a bear, I would expect these things to occur. Bears are big enough to break branches. Bears would slap the ground with their forepaws, but I would have expected to hear huffing or jaw popping. Yeah. Black bears almost never try to intimidate people, and if they do, they make really obvious bluff charges. You probably would see a bear. I didn't think it was a deer, but I said, okay, well, if it was a deer, here's what I'd expect. Was it a wild cat? Was it a creepy person? And then my final one that I didn't want to even put down was it a squat?
Sarah Brown is a witness whose account stands out for its clarity and detail. During her encounter, she observed a Sasquatch from a distance that allowed her to study its form, coloration, and movement with unusual precision. Her careful observations and the drawing she later created offer a rare and compelling perspective that adds depth to her experience and credibility to her account.
Until Friday, May 10th, which was actually the day of the Aurora Borealis, I saw a Sasquatch that was standing across a field that was about 200 yards away from us. And what I saw was very two-toned in color. It was similar to like an orangutan red. An orangutan red all over here.
The sighting lasted only seconds. As she spoke, her attention drifted for just a moment, long enough for something across the field to catch her eye. She looked up, locked onto the figure, and then, just as suddenly, it was gone. Like so many Sasquatch encounters, it vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but the lingering question of what had truly been there. The YouTube channel NVTV is known for its daring outdoor adventures, and this time, the creator returned to a spot in British Columbia he'd visited earlier in spring. Back then, deer stirred quietly behind him, unnoticed. Now, blanketed in snow and freezing cold, the valley felt completely different, alive with the promise of surprises only the forest could reveal. He had begun hearing the forest in a new way, beyond deer calls or bear grunts.
And there's even one spot, I videotaped it all, there's a spot where a handful of these trees were just, boom, thrown down in one stack. One tree, one of the heavier ones, was broken 1, 2, 3 times. So the top was snapped off, but it was left by a thread of bark and it was hanging. And, oh no, the top was snapped completely off and gone. And then another chunk of about 3 or 4 feet of it was broken off again and hanging by a thread of bark. And then the base of it was mulched, like psh, psh, psh. It wasn't broken clean enough for it to lay down. It was still standing, but you just grab by your fingers and go like this. And that was the one I was almost tempted to cut that off if I had a handsaw, something with me to take it home, because that was absolutely bizarre. And the strength it took to snap these trees off, a human being couldn't have done it.
Noticing the rare, fleeting sounds that hinted at shifting weather or unseen movement, each whisper of the wilderness drew him further in, where the ordinary could quickly become extraordinary. A trail camera hung high in the tree, untouched, until the forest suddenly came alive.
Remember this spot? I was in this spot late spring, early summer this year, and I was standing stump back there behind me about 25 yards. I stood there, I think I had the camera a little far back, and those deer got up and were walking around directly behind me. I didn't have a clue they were there. Well, I'm at the exact same spot now. And I'm back home. I am somewhere between Squamish and Parramatta, British Columbia.
Sharp, thunderous blows struck the wood, far too forceful for a human. The air was still, yet each strike echoed with a presence unseen, powerful, and unmistakably deliberate. Something had torn through the clearing with uncanny strength. Slim trees snapped neatly at chest height, untouched by claws, teeth, or antlers. In a small, roughly 15-meter square patch, the forest lay twisted and scarred, as if an unseen force had made its presence known and vanished.
What a mess, eh? It's just really weird.
That's hard to stop.
Look at this, it's snapped twice. Snapped twice, and there's no antler marks on it. Weird, eh? Whatever, it is what it is. This little group of trees looks like they're all just grabbed together like a bouquet and thrown down, eh? These ones right here. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them in a bouquet.
The area was a scene of chaos, torn and unsettled in a way that defied explanation. Whatever had passed through left no clear trace, yet the damage spoke volumes. It was strange, unsettling, impossible to ignore, and left a lingering sense that something unusual had been here. The forest looked ravaged, as if something had carved through with raw, unstoppable power. Trees were stripped and shredded, bark flaked and gouged, leaving deep, jagged scars.
I don't know, another week and a bit, I'm really going to start picking up. I'll probably be hunting every single day in the mountains. But in the meantime, I'm going to explain to you guys and show you guys the video I took on that last trip. I think I discussed it in the previous video, not the hunting videos, the moose videos. But I explained to everybody how when you are in the woods hunting, like myself and thousands of other people just like me.
The scene radiated force and intent, a chaotic signature that hinted at a presence both massive and unseen. He knew it wasn't any ordinary animal or human. Whatever had moved through this dense patch of trees left a mark that was unmistakable and impossible to explain.
But that little branch I balanced in there to keep it on an angle, pointing down, that stick should not have stayed behind that camera when it was spun around, if it was done by antlers. Whatever, it wasn't done by a bear, there's no teeth marks on it, there's no claw marks in the tree, nothing we'll lose sleep about, right? So I moved the camera, replenished the batteries, and then we went on a big, long, deep timber hunt not too far from the Peace River.
The damage was old, yet the towering grass and thick undergrowth only hinted at the magnitude of what had passed through, a force both powerful and unseen. A massive tree had been ripped from the earth, its top 16 feet broken and tossed over 40 feet across the trail.
And then we carried on, went down the trail, got to where the trail camera was, and the trail camera, which is set on a tree, I put a stick behind it all the time, it was spun right around, about a quarter of the way around the tree to face the next tree beside it, which was only 2 feet away in a trunk like that. And we were the only ones in there since the camera had been set. And I'm like, well, that sucks. You know, there was 2 or 3 videos of myself on there.
The destruction hinted at a staggering force, raw, deliberate, and utterly otherworldly, leaving the forest trembling in its wake. What kind of force could move through the forest with such unimaginable power, snapping trees and shredding the undergrowth, yet leave no trace of itself, vanishing as mysteriously as it appeared? On Travel Channel, every journey tells a story, and this one is deeply personal. Michael Freeman ventures into the wilderness, following the footsteps of his father, Paul Freeman, whose life changed forever in 1982. That first encounter with a legendary creature sparked a 15-year obsession. Now, Michael retraces the same rugged terrain, asking the question that started it all. What truly happened here? And is it still out there? Paul Freeman spent long stretches in these woods, convinced the land itself whispered secrets.
My name is Michael Freeman. Paul Freeman is my dad in 1982. That's when he had his first encounter with Bigfoot. And that kind of set off a 15-year obsession, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, go around this bush here, see what's going on here.
Each trip revealed new clues, fresh imprints, unusual traces, signs of deliberate movement. He filmed every discovery, building a growing archive of unanswered questions. Yet the source remained elusive. Clear signs appeared, then silence. Whatever lurked seemed to watch from just beyond view.
Now, Deduck Spring, where this video was taken, was one of the viable water sources that was still being used by animals.
Sometimes they come here and get water.
My dad, knowing this, had been going up to that area for a couple weeks, actually, and he was finding footprint tracks up there, hair samples. He had been taking his camera. He was filming the collection of evidence.
Wow, looks like he's pretty fresh.
He would find stuff, but he would never have any sightings. And he would go back, the next day or the day after, and the same thing would happen over and over.
Yeah, he's went back up the road, come down the road.
Paranormal researcher Rosemary Ellen Guiley notes that Paul Freeman's legacy comes from evidence that could be examined, not debated. The footprint casts he recovered showed fine ridge patterns.
The valuable thing that Paul Freeman contributed to the field really came from his casts of footprints, and they have been examined by experts. He was able to capture what are called dermal ridges in his casts. This is an indication of striations in his...
Can't see much up through here. I hear the brush popping and stuff. Oh, there he goes.
Consistent with skin texture, setting them apart from ordinary tracks. Following the trail deeper, Freeman documented every step, the footprints leading him from certainty toward the unknown. He had seen strange things before, but nothing like this night. As darkness fell, Paul Freeman pushed deeper, following sounds that felt deliberate. These woods held a long history of mystery, and now they seemed anything but empty. Whatever moved beyond the brush did so with purpose, turning a routine investigation into a moment that would haunt him long after he returned.
He was pale in color. You could tell that something had upset him and something had bothered him.
Oh, God.
It's the only time in my life, including the day that he died, that I ever saw my dad scared of anything. And that right there to me, I mean, I don't have to see one. That's the only proof I'll ever need for the existence of this animal, just knowing my dad and how that affected him.
The figure moved with fluid, instinctive grace. Nothing stiff, nothing forced. Its size and proportions were disturbingly consistent, impossible to fake. Later, those closest to Paul spoke not of what he saw, but how it changed him. A man known for strength and fearlessness, someone untouchable to his son, was left visibly shaken. For the family, that reaction mattered more than any photo or footage.
People can be skeptical, but you cannot deny the impact that these sightings have had on the people who saw the activity.
I mean, what can you say? You know, your dad comes home and he's got something like this on video, and you watch it and you rewatch it and then you watch it again and you say, well, that's not a bear. You know, it's not a man. It's nothing I've ever seen. And yeah, I mean, it was exciting. It was an exciting time.
Oh, there he goes.
Whatever Paul encountered broke the image of invincibility, and that was proof enough. In the shadows, something moves. Tall, upright, impossibly still. Its coat is thick and wild, unlike any known animal. The camera rises slowly, revealing a presence that seems aware of its observer. A head shifts with quiet intention. Every subtle movement hints at intelligence, patience, and a power beyond comprehension. Alive, watching, refusing to reveal itself fully.
This is probably the most dynamic Bigfoot footage that I've ever seen.
The movements of this creature look very natural.
Doesn't look like a man in a suit. The height looks right, the weight looks right. I feel like this would be difficult for a man to hoax all on his own and the word not get out.
Oh, God. I hear my heart beating 40 miles an hour.
I believe that he saw Bigfoot. I know my dad. I grew up with my dad. I know what kind of person he is.
The figure had the unmistakable hallmarks of Bigfoot. Towering, primate-like, with a broad, dome-shaped head and massive frame. Beneath the dense fur, a lighter area hinted at a bare chest or hands held before it, adding an uncanny awareness to the encounter. The evidence was undeniable. Not a hoax, not a story from the past. Something still moves through these mountains.
She frightened my dad, who I saw as being Superman, basically. You know, growing up, big guy, tough guy, brave guy, someone who wasn't afraid of any man or beast, you know, on this earth, to actually be rattled and scared by something. I don't need any more proof than that.
Gotta be tracks here somewhere in this road. Oh, here's one.
For somebody to devote their whole life to a field like Bigfoot searching and squatching, to finally get something on camera is a huge deal.
Yeah, they've been all over this in here.
An elusive presence known only as Bigfoot. Witnessing it, even briefly, changes everything, leaving a mark that can never be forgotten. After decades of footprints, fleeting glimpses, and undeniable encounters, the forest keeps its secrets. The question isn't whether Bigfoot exists, it's whether anyone can face what's out there and return unchanged. Will Michael Freeman uncover the truth? On Flash of Beauty, we dive into the real stories behind the mysterious and unexplained. Larry Turner, a native Oregonian, never expected his elk hunt in the dense forests near Hag Lake to turn into a life-changing encounter. What began as a routine trek through the canyons soon became a brush with something far stranger and unforgettable.
I'm Larry Turner. I'm from the Portland area, a native Oregonian. And I'm asked about my first experience. My first experience with the phenomena of Bigfoot happened in 1981. I was elk hunting between Hag Lake, which is Forest Grove area, and Highway 6, towards Tillamook. I was chasing a 6x6 bull elk, went down into this canyon, and it kept on crossing canyons. I was probably 3 hours in and finally decided I had enough chasing him because I could never get a clear shot.
As he made his way back up the skid road, a sudden wave of unease washed over him. Every instinct went on high alert. His skin prickled. Larry had spent years in the wilderness, facing bears and cougars, but this feeling was different. It wasn't the fear of a known predator. It was unfamiliar, overwhelming, and deeply unsettling, like the forest itself had shifted.
I felt really nervous. So I jacked around into my 30-06 and started walking up the hill, up the skid road, and the next thing I know, I stopped and my hair standing up on the back of my neck, hair standing up on my arms, and I can't figure out what's going on. I've been around bear, I've been around cougar, been around all the apex predators, and I've never felt like this before.
Larry came to an abrupt stop, catching fleeting shapes in the shadows, limbs, glimpses of a body. Nothing matched any animal he'd ever seen. This presence was bigger, stranger, and utterly alien to the quiet of the forest.
Figure in this brush, and I look over and I'm kind of going, what that? I would catch a leg and an arm that would go, arm and hands that would go past the kneecap, and then part of a torso. And I'm looking at this thing going, that ain't no bear. I'm going, well, if that was a bear, he would have been out of here already. And so I'm walking up. Every time I took a step, this thing would take a step. 20, 30 yards tops.
As night fell, they set up camp. Cindy, the field researcher, had placed an audio recorder 12 feet up a tree, while another device captured nearby sounds. Suddenly, the forest came alive. Two distinct calls rang across the canyon, intertwining in a haunting, almost musical rhythm. For 2 full minutes, the eerie cries echoed over ridges and valleys, like a song no one had ever heard before.
Set up camp, ate dinner. Cindy does these 2 whoop calls. Had an audio recorder that was sitting 12 feet up in the air. Mine was, both of them were. Next thing we know, we got a real good 2-minute audio of 2 of them screaming cross canyon with interludes, what, for lack of a better term, would be song.
He stiffened, gripped by a sound he had never heard, raw, chilling, unplaceable. Then it stopped. The tent walls pressed inward. A heavy hand rested at the base of his neck, guiding his head. Every instinct screamed to run, but he couldn't. In that moment, the forest itself seemed alive, and he faced something beyond explanation.
And it stops behind me. All of a sudden, my tent starts getting pushed in. And then contact on the back of my head. Its palm was at the base of my neck. Its thumb right here. The top of the hand right here, as it's gently manipulating my head, pushing through my tent.
The next morning, he discovered something that made his blood run cold. In the gravel, right where his feet had been, was a massive footprint, 19 inches long, each toe clearly defined. He measured it carefully and snapped photos, the evidence undeniable. Whatever had passed through the campsite was enormous and unmistakably real.
Slide into the gravel behind me. What you don't know is that before I did anything that night, I raked down the entire landing so that all the rocks were uniform. I got a 19-inch impression in the gravel with toe splay right there where my feet were. 19 inches, I measured it and took pictures of it.
He captured recordings of the creatures, calls so sharp and clear it was as if they were right beside him. From his driver's seat to the hood of his truck, just 4 feet away, he saw every detail. The The sounds rivaled anything on the Patterson film, leaving him both awed and unnerved.
You know, like that. Just some real cool stuff. Real crystal clear. I mean, if I was to put that onto the Patterson film, and you gotta think about it this way. I was from my driver's seat to the hood of my truck away from it. 4 feet? I got a pretty good look.
He spends every free moment in the forest, drawn to its quiet rhythms and timeless balance. For him, chasing Bigfoot is just a side note. The true reward is feeling alive in the wild, attuned to the world around him. He notices how most people have lost that connection, detached from the instinct to wander, to listen, and to simply exist in nature's flow.
Thanks. But for me, every free moment I have is in the woods. I'm not Bigfooting. That's a bonus. That's icing on the cake. But just to feel the natural world, to have balance. And I think that's where most of the people do not have, is that balance anymore, because they lost that feel or that drive or what's natural to be in the natural environment. And you know what?
15 different sightings of Bigfoots. And the truth is, for every one of these that made it into the camera, there are 1,000 more sightings that never made it into the camera because the witnesses were too shocked to record them. Have you ever seen a Bigfoot before? Share your experience with us in the comments section. And if you enjoy content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next video might make you look at the woods a little differently.